Hello, this video is to help you get ready for cooking the ham and cheesy potato foil packet. Gives you some additional instructions to help you be prepared. And if you're absent in class next week, you can watch the video and do this at home if you'd like. Before you start cooking and you go into the home ec classroom, make sure that you have your mask on. I'm taking mine off for the purpose of the video. But you, in addition to your mask, then you need to cover your hair with a shower cap that is provided in the classroom. Save it in your drawer at the end of class so that you can use it for your other cooking labs. Make sure your mask is in place, your face shield. You need to bring your own face shield and your Chromebook with you to every class for cooking. Then in addition to that, you should have an apron. They're hanging behind the teacher's desk on the wall. And then you need to wear plastic gloves. So these are disposable. At the end, you'll throw them away. First thing you need to do is sanitize your cooking space. So get a wet dishcloth out of the bottom drawer in the demonstration bay. The drawer is labeled dishcloths and dish towels. And use this alcohol in the yellow container to sanitize your cooking space and make sure that it's completely clean before you get started. And then once you have done that, take your dishcloth and spread it out on the counter so that that will provide a surface that will give some traction to your cutting board. So you'll take out a cutting board and put it right on top of the wet dishcloth, and when I push on that, it doesn't slip very well, so that also gives you extra safety in the kitchen so that your cutting board won't slide around. Tools that you'll need to have. At each sink, you'll find a brush shaped like this for scrubbing vegetables. You'll use this to scrub your potato. I have a teaspoon measuring spoon that are in the measuring cup drawers, measuring spoon drawers, and I'm going to use this for my drizzle of olive oil. If you just pour the oil out of the bottle, you can pour way too much, but you just want to drizzle, so I'm just using just a teaspoon to use that for drizzling. I have a 1/4 dry cup measuring cup in the same drawer, and this is for measuring out the cheese that I'm going to put on it. You can also get a vegetable peeler, which is in the second drawer next to the knife drawer. So choose the knife, whether you like a chef's knife or a paring knife. If you're not familiar with cutting, starting with a paring knife size is good. But if you have more comfort and confidence, using the larger knife is better. I'm going to use the chef knife today. Okay, and then you also need to have your ingredients. So let me just go over those that should be prepared. The ingredients you need for this recipe are a potato, and I've already got one peeled and ready to go to help save time. You need 1/8 of an onion, so you won't need all of that, so I'm expecting that you'll be able to share that with your classmates. You'll need a drizzle of olive oil, and you'll need salt and pepper. They're in the demonstration bay, not in demonstration bay. They should be on the counter for you, but they're in the seasoning cupboard in the purple bay if you can't find them. And then in addition to the cheese that I'm going to use here, I'm buying it already grated for the purpose of this recipe, but you can grate your own cheese, which is also a nice cutting skill to practice, grating cheese. And I have some ham that I'm going to dice up in a moment. So let's just get started with that. Let's put this over here. And things for your cutting board for. Start with your vegetables. And because it tells you to have 1/8 of an onion, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to cut the onion, and it's kind of hard to hold a round object in cutting. That's the most dangerous thing, so we want to get a flat surface as soon as possible. So, and it's also awkward using gloves, but to be safe in the home ec room, that's what we need to do. So I'm going to use the claw position that you should have read about in Cool Kids Cook, and I'm going to cut through the onion and just cut it in half. And once I've got a half of an onion, then it's so much safer to work with. I have a triangle wedge down here at the core that I'm going to cut, so I'm just going to cut right here and right here. And then that helps me get a place to pull the skin off so I can peel my onion quite easily once I've got it like that. And again, it's a little tricky to do with your gloves on, but I'm going to take that off here. Okay, I'm going to cheat. Sorry. once you have your onion peeled, then this is a half of an onion, so to get 1/8 of a whole onion, I want 1/4 of this. So what I'm going to do, blow it back on. Okay, with my knife, I'm just going to cut off the end right there where there's a little bit of skin still showing. Okay, and then to cut right here, I'm going to cut in half, and there's a 1/4. I need a half of that, so I'm going to turn it again and cut it here like this. So here is 1/4 of an onion that I'm going to chop up and put into my cheesy foil bake. So the rest of this can be shared with other students. I'm going to set these aside since we won't be using them. And your vegetable peeler is the next tool that you're going to use. And you should put the blade of the peeler to the edge of the apple that has, or the potato that has already been scrubbed, and pull the edge of the blade toward your thumb, and then just rotate it around and keep on going like that. When you come to an eye where there's a little hole on the that's hard to get off, use the tip of your vegetable peeler to just gouge it out and just put it in like that and twist it in a circle, and that will take out those parts, and then you can continue peeling your potato smoothly. And once you have it ready to go, I'm not going to do that whole thing, but I'm going to make sure to put all of my potatoes into the pig trash, which is the pink trash. Keep your okay. Let's go ahead and with your potato, when you're ready to cut, there's different ways that you can cut it, but it's most important to try and remember to cut small pieces. The thinner your slices or the smaller your dices, the better your potatoes will cook. If you have large chunks, then your potatoes won't cook through in the time that we have them in the oven. So make sure that you cut as thin or as small as you can. So I'm going to just practice some thin dicing. And again, I want to get my potato, which is a round object, with a flat surface down. So I've got the flat surface, and now it doesn't roll around, and my cutting board is steady. So I'm in a good position to cut. So I'm going to turn it sideways. And this first one, I'm just going to cut in thin slices. When I'm cutting in thin slices, I use the claw position that is also described in Cool Kids Cook, and I'm just sliding and I'm cutting in the thinnest possible slices that I can. So if you can have 1 to 2 millimeter size thickness, that would be great. Anything larger than 3, 4, and 5 will take longer to cook. So if you can cut thin slices, that's an example of what would look really good for that. If you would like to practice dicing, then I would go ahead and cut it into using the bridge position here. I'm just cutting strips, and I'm trying to make them less than 1 centimeter in size, like no more than 5 millimeters. And then I'm going to stack 2 strips at a time, and I'm going to cut those in strips again, maybe 1 or 2 times. And then I'm going to turn those strips, and I'm going to cut them in small little cubes. So the smaller the cube that you can cut here will be the best. So you can see on the edge of the knife, those are pretty small cubes, and they shouldn't take so long to cut. So either way, you can cut your potato in slices or cubes. Go ahead and do that. And then for your onion, you want to finely chop it. So I'm going to leave it with the flat side down. And again, similar like I did for the dicing, I'm using the claw position here to go over it. And I'm just cutting through so you can see that. Let me move my hands. And then I'm going to stack those 2 at a time. And again, cut into little matchstick size pieces. And then turn those matchstick pieces size sideways and cut across as small as you can here. You do want to be really careful to try and avoid cutting through your gloves, because that does make it harder. When you're at home, you don't need to be wearing gloves, but when we are at school, that is part of it. And once you've done your onions in small pieces like this, You can take, and to get them even smaller, I'm going to move this part over the cutting board over a little bit so you can see better. I'm going to use a technique where I put the front of my blade up here with above the vegetables that I'm cutting, and I'm putting my right hand, I'm left-handed, so I'm putting my right hand and I'm just going like this and chopping and going through this way. This is part of the technique that you use for mincing, but it also helps cut your onions smaller and gives you smaller pieces that will be able to cook faster. So that's an important thing to remember. And so you can do that to get it as small as you want. It doesn't have to be, this is plenty small enough, but that's a good technique to practice. Scoop it together with your knife and just keep going like that, and then pull it together and cut it, and that will give you the size that you need. So once you have your pieces cut, I'm also going to, now that I have finished cutting my vegetables, I'm going to cut the ham. So let me slide this out of the way, bring my ham over. And I just have some leftover ham in the fridge, so I'm cutting it in half, in half, in half, and then I'm going to turn those half sizes sideways and just cut it into, because my ham was already sliced and yours should be as well, it won't have problem cooking through. The potatoes are harder and the onions are harder vegetables. It takes longer for heat to penetrate and cook them, but the ham should cook very quickly. And then to get my cheese ready, I'm just going to pour 1/4 of a cup. You can use a measuring spoon, or please don't stick your fingers in the jar or the bag of cheese. So I have 1/4 of a cup of cheese, a little less there, depending on how much you like. Okay, and then the next thing you're going to do is get your foil ready. So you should tear off a piece of foil that is basically about a square size, okay? And so I have probably, I'm guessing it's 12 inches wide by about 10 inches. And then I'm going to start by, the recipe tells you to put the potato in the center. So I'm going to, let's see if I can move this up out of the way for just a minute. So, okay, so I've got my foil here. Move the camera over so we can see it better. Okay, so into the center of the foil, I'm going to put my potatoes, and I've got one here sliced, some that are diced. Do a little bit of a test to see which cooks better, the dice or the slice. And if you don't stack it in a mountain, but you kind of spread it out, that will help also give it more surface area to cook, and it'll be easier to get to the center. So once you've got your potatoes on, you can put your onions and sprinkle that all over them, and your ham, and kind of just spread it out like that. Then top all of that with the drizzle of olive oil. So here's my olive oil, and the drizzle is actually a verb, although it can be a noun, I suppose. And I'm pouring just about a teaspoon, a little less is fine. And then to drizzle it, you just kind of pour it like this. You don't want it all to end up in one space, but you're kind of, you can go like in a circular motion like this, or you can go zigzag back and forth, but you want it to cover as much of the potatoes as you can in the surface area there. And then on top of that, it says to add salt and pepper. I like lots of salt and pepper. I'm going to put some pepper quite generously, sprinkle that on there. A little less salt because it's good flavor, but not quite as healthy, so try not. On top of oregano, this should be preheated. This one going here. There's been audio difficulties, but for the rest of this video, go ahead and add your seasonings, sprinkle it with cheese, then fold the two sides and roll the ends up so that you have a rectangular shaped packet. Put it on the baking sheet. 3 or 4 packets can go on one sheet into the oven for 30 minutes. Here they have just come out of the oven, so I just want to show you I've exchanged my gloves for my oven mitts, and we're going to just open and check that they're done. You can take a fork and poke it through, and if it goes through, tell that it's done. What you're going to need to do is, you probably won't have time to do that, but if you've baked it for 30 minutes, it should be done if you've cut small pieces. Please use a spatula and take your foil packet and put it onto a paper plate like this that are in the home ec room, and you can take it with you like this. You can take it to lunch, or if you want to save it and take it home and share at home, that's okay as well. But that's how your cheesy foil packet, ham and cheesy foil packet, should turn out on the end. Hope you enjoy, and if you weren't able to be at school because of quarantine, you can do this at home easily. And for those of you who were at school, I used the time that I was baking to totally wash my dishes and clean up the kitchen, so that's a good use of your time. If you finish cleaning the kitchen, then you should start going to read your next recipe and do the advanced preparation on your cooking log so that you'll be ready for your next cooking class. See you then. Bye.